Hey, welcome back, folks. Glad you could be with me again today. Today I am going to hopefully be able to do a video that should have come before the one I did on mounting. Now, it's one of those things, I kind of assume that people have got this stuff down, and, well, assumptions are a bad idea on a good day. Anyhow, if you happen to notice, I'm wearing a lot more clothes in my videos now. It's because, well, it's winter here. And I know a lot of you, winter just means it's actually gotten cool enough you can actually go riding without dying in the heat. But I live up in Canada, and winter here actually gets pretty cold. It's already well below freezing, and it's pretty windy outside too, so it's not very pleasant actually. But anyhow, I want to show you what I should have shown you before, but again, and I said at the beginning of that video on mounting, is that if you haven't got a horse that'll flex good on the ground, chances are you are going to have trouble with your mounting, and what I was trying to show you was not going to work. But I want to show you how to achieve that, hopefully. I'm going to try anyhow. And this guy, I think, I'm really hoping that he's just chill enough that we're going to be able to do this stuff with him and give you an idea. Now, I refer to it as flexing. I don't know if there's other names for it, but it really has nothing to do with flexibility. It's all about rein response, and, well, in his case, also response to the lead. Well, any horse, actually. It response to the lead, the reins, and everything else. It helps with the steering, the brakes, and everything. And I said in the other video that if you get that really good, everything's going to be better. But if that part isn't working really good, which is very common that it isn't, because a lot of people don't do this stuff. They actually do it after they're in the saddle, and that doesn't work as good. And I'll explain why as I go here. But if you get this stuff really good, you will be able to get your horse to stand still while you're trying to get on it. You won't need a second person to hold the horse while you mount it. One of the comments somebody made in the previous video on mounting was that he tried that method and it didn't work. His horse would back up and turn in circles and all this stuff. Well, actually, it's not all that surprising if the horse isn't really good with this flexing stuff in the first place. Now, this one here, he's not going to be very good with it, I don't imagine. Although I just tried it on the other side and it didn't work too bad. I did try it yesterday on this side and it didn't work very good at all, which is good. I know that sounds silly, but I can't show you how to do it if he does it really good, okay? I need to show you what you have to go through. Now, I'm going to bring him a little further out here because chances are pretty good that he's going to move. And that's the whole point of what we're doing, is we're teaching the horse not to move with his head turned. That when that head is turned, that means you don't move. Okay, and that's the goal, and that's why what I showed you in the mounting video works, because the horse already knows how to stay still when its head's turned. But if you haven't got that part really good, it's not going to work. So, and you have to get that part real good. Now, there's a little bit to it. It's a little tricky sometimes, and there's a few complexities to it, but it is actually a relatively simple process that any one of you can do. Absolutely any one of you. You got a halter and a lead for your horse, you can do this. It doesn't have to have a bit in it. It doesn't have to have a bridle on it. If you got a halter and lead, that'll do the trick. That's all you need. You can do it again after the horse gets pretty good at it. You can do it with a bridle and a bit. You can do the same thing, just picking up your reins to get to turn its head. Same thing will work. I didn't ask you to go anywhere, sir. No, I didn't. But I may as well just get started in, because he's going to start getting concerned if I don't keep him busy. He's actually been doing really good. And this is probably a tiny bit early with him for doing this, but it's one of those things that there's not an exact time for doing it in basic training, except that it definitely must be done before you ever try riding the horse, at least in my opinion, because it affects virtually everything about riding, with your ability to control the horse through the reins, whether you want it to stop, back up, turn, or anything else. You need a horse that responds to the reins, and that's what this is all about. Some people think that because it's called flexing, it's about flexibility. Some people will use it for that. I don't. I never have. And I'm not sure that it actually does a whole lot for the flexibility, but the purpose of this is to have response to the reins, and in this case, the lead rope, because we're not using reins just yet, although this is actually what I use for reins when I'm riding. I just throw it over the horse's neck and tie it onto the other end, tie the other end onto the halter, but you already know that. Anyhow, so we're going to get started here, and what we do is, the first thing you want to do is you just rest your hand on the horse, just so you have a place to put it. Now, I'm going to pick up, let's see. Now, he may not respond well because he's actually, he's still focused on that door over there and the herd and everything. But I'm going to just keep a light tension on this lead. There we go. And as soon as he turns his head, he gets released. You see that? Now, one of the mistakes that people make when doing this is they actually, your hand has to stay stationary in space. You can't be moving it with the horse's head. So basically, that way, that's why I put my elbow against myself so that when he turns his head, my hand, there's no risk of my hand moving, and he gives himself release. I don't even have to have good timing on this. Now we're going to take it a little further, and he's already moving. This is good. This is what we don't want, but this is good. I can't show you if he doesn't do it. Now what I'm doing here, oh, he's you see my hand's on the side of him. Oh, no, he hasn't learned yet. He's still moving. He's still moving. There, he stopped moving. I give him release. You see, that was the other thing is if the horse starts moving, it's very difficult to keep your hand in the right place. So what I actually do, if I can get his head turned around a little bit, is I'll just put my hand on his side, and that way it stays stationary, relevant to him. Okay, now let's try this again. He's busy. He's concerned with that door. Good man. Good man. Now we're going to, well, I'd like his head in a little further, because otherwise he'll feel me pulling back instead of sideways, and we want to make the cue as clear as possible. That's very good, though. Oh, there we go. And he's going to go around. I'm just going to keep going with him. I don't care how many times he goes around. The other day he did this. I don't know. I was getting dizzy. There we go. Good man. Very good. And you might have to repeat this. Oh, darn it, I'm way off camera again. I do this again. Oh. Because you're going to probably have to do this, I don't know, 30, 50 times maybe. It depends on the horse. I mean, you might only have to do it 5 or 10 times. You know, every horse is a little different. Now, with him, getting him responsive to the lead is a little trickier because of the fact he is a little distracted because of his herd-bound issues, that he's got his separation anxiety and that. Right now, he's looking at the other end of the arena because the big doors down there, there's a tiny crack in them that you can see through, and there might be some horses out there. And that's his concern at the moment. So, you know, he's not necessarily going to be paying attention, but that's okay. This is good exercise for him to get some paying attention. And that's the whole thing is with this particular horse. We want him focusing on me. Oh, that very good that time. See his response much quicker. And we only did, you know, there we go. Very good. But he's still moving. Okay. Now we've got his head turned around. We just keep my hand on his side. There we go. Now I'm going to go with him. I'm just going with him. He can go around all he wants. Round, around, around. I don't care. This is what you got to do. You go with the horse and you keep your hand in the exact same spot. Oh, almost. Oh. I'm just going to keep going with him until he stops moving. I'm probably off camera again by now, but I can't help that. Yeah, we're way over there. Oh, darn it. I don't want to be way over here. I wish he'd stop doing this because he keeps getting further over this way. And you cannot see what I'm doing, but I'm going with him. I'm going with him. My hand's on his side, his head's turned, and he stopped moving. There we go. I give him complete release. I let go of the lead. Now we're just going to walk away and come back over here where you can see what the heck I'm doing. And since he always tends to go that direction, we're going to start a little further over this way this time. But this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. I'm really sorry about that. But I couldn't stop and bring him back because I can't stop. That's one of the things, you can never ever stop when you start something. So, you have to decide, when you go to do something, what you're going to tackle and how long it's going to take, and have a vague idea, because you can never guarantee, but make sure that, don't think, oh, well, I got 15 minutes, I'm going to try something, because it might take 3/4 of an hour, okay? So when you decide to try anything with your horse, make sure you got lots of time free to do it, because who knows how long it's going to take. So we're going to do this again, same thing. I'm just going to pick up the lead, see if we get a little response. Actually, I should back up even a little bit more. I mentioned it in the beginning, is, the first thing you want to do is just get them responsive to the lead or the halter or whatever the heck. Good man. Yes, nice guy. And that's your first thing. Good man. See his head still turned over that way. He's paying attention to that door over there. That's okay. We're kind of killing two birds with one stone doing this stuff with him. It's okay. Apparently he needs this stuff, and it also is going to help him pay attention to me. He's still not really paying attention. And I got to be careful too, because he might feel that pressure and decide to step over and step on my foot if I'm not paying attention. Now, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He doesn't do it intentionally. He's not trying to hurt me. He doesn't want to hurt me. He's a nice guy. He just doesn't know, and he's worried about stuff. Very good. Now we're going to see. There we go. Good man. Oh, no, he's already moving. We don't want him moving. And I'm going to go with him again. Here we go again. Oh, he stopped that time. Good man. I'm going to give him 100% release there. Let him have his head back. He can stand there and stare at the door over there again. But, like I said, this is what you got to do. And you might have to do it quite a few times. And I can assure you with this guy, I'm going to have to do it quite a few times too. I can already tell that. There we go. And I'll just do it again. Same thing over and over. And this is what you have to do until every time you turn his head, he stands still. And that could take a while. Now, and the other thing I should mention too is when you first start doing this, make sure your hand is out far enough from the horse that your cue is clear to the horse that you want him turning his head. Because if you start off and his head's straight and you put your hand on his side and try pulling back, he might think you just want to back up, and he'll start going backwards, and you don't want that. We want to make sure our cues are as clear as possible. That's why I said that once you get his head around, then you can put your hand on his side to hold it steady while he's moving. Now we're going to see if we can do this again. Good man. Good man. Very good. See how quick this worked with this guy. I'm impressed. Uh-oh. Here we go. He's trying to take his head back, but every time he does, the pressure's fully back, and then he thinks he can back up, but no. I should have given him a release there. I'm sorry. Sorry, buddy. My bad. Too busy talking, not paying attention to the horse, and that's something that I emphasize. And don't talk to your friends. Don't talk on the phone. Don't pay any attention to anything but your horse. You'd be surprised how much is going on that you're missing if you're not paying attention. Now, I'm going to do this one more time. And you're already seeing, look at that. I just picked it up. He saw me picking it up, which is good. That means he's also paying attention. And he immediately started turning his head. Now he's preoccupied with that door now, so he's not going to respond. There we go. Very good. And as soon as he turned his head, he got slack. See how that works? I'm not even moving my hand. He's doing it. He's doing the pressure and release thing. He's doing the timing. I don't have to do a darn thing except stand here motionless. And then once we get his head around far enough, hopefully, no, he's going to move. There we go, because he wasn't paying attention to me. He's still got his head over a bit. There we go. Good man. Very good. You do that often enough. Now I think I could do this 100 more times, and there's just no point. I think I've already shown you enough times. Unfortunately, went way off camera there a couple times, so you didn't get to see as much as I wanted to show you. But if the horse moves, go with it, and just keep it bent until it stops moving. And you have to be consistent. You have to be Always, always be consistent with your horse no matter what you're doing. And you see this? See it? There we go. Now, if I was trying to get on him when I do this, oh, okay, he's not quite ready, but he's getting there. He's getting there. Very good. Oh, no, no, he's moving. So, we're not done. He's moving. That's okay. Good man. Very good. And, you know, he's not done yet. Now, I'm not going to actually give you a demonstration of the next step of this that I find very, very helpful. But because it just, I don't think he's ready for me to be putting, although he has been ridden. He's been ridden. But I'm not about to put a saddle on him yet. But if you, in particular, Western saddles work very well for doing this, I find, is what I do, is once I get the saddle on, then instead of trying to put my hand on his side, which is very confusing to the horse because sometimes the pressure is a little too close in and it makes them think you want them to back up. But if they got a saddle on them, with the, you know, depending on the saddle, they're all a little different, but some of them actually stick out pretty good on the corners. And you can put your hand up on the corner of the saddle and it's out a fair ways from the horse. So it makes your cue a little clearer for the horse. So you're actually encouraging a bend because you're keeping your hand out there. You're not pulling straight back. There we go. Beautiful. Nice guy. He's catching on real good to this stuff. I'm surprised. I'm quite impressed, actually. In a way, I'm kind of glad we're doing this with him to show you because I didn't think it was actually going to work quite this well with him because he is, as you can see, he's distracted. He's busy looking over there. You know, that is kind of to be expected with him. But you got the idea. Is if you want your horse to stand still when you're mounting, having its head turned is synonymous with standing still if you do that in training. Plus, it gives you response to the reins. It's just laying over my thumb now. See that? It's just laying over my thumb. And he will bring his head around. Unless, of course, he's looking at the door. There we go. Good man. Good man. There we go. That worked extremely well. I'm rather pleased with that, how well that worked, so that I could show you. But it really does work that well. And you know, and he's actually being extremely good. He's catching on very fast. You might, like I said, you might have to do this same thing 20, 30, 50, 100 times, I don't know. And before you ever ride the horse, you know, again, do it with the saddle on as well. And something else that I also encourage doing, and I wouldn't do it until the horse is fairly good on both sides, but what I like to do is if I got a long enough lead. And what I will do, so I don't have to reach over keep moving the lead around back and forth, is I'll actually take my lead and tie it on just like I would if I was going to be using it as reins. And I like doing it this way. It's just, it's easier. And I'm going to explain in a second why we're going to do this. Because a lot of times the horse will want to turn its head towards you when you're doing this. It's just convenient. It's an excuse to look at you and to see what you're up to and maybe get a treat off you or whatever. But doing it this way with the reins type thing, I can just reach over, grab the offside, and pick it up and see if he turns his head that way. See how, oh, it worked amazingly well. Very good. See, we're getting sensitivity to the reins. We're developing that in this process. And doing it this way, it helps you ensure that you're not being tricked, that it's actually working. Because, like I said, you know, it's very easy to be fooled going this way because the horse will quite often use any excuse to look at you. Thank you, sir. Good man. And like you know, and this way, by doing it on the offside, you know it's working. Now, in this case, I shouldn't have even done that side because I haven't worked on that side. I didn't even know it was going to work. But because we've been working on this side, the smart thing to do would be go over on that side and reach across and pick up this rein to make sure that he's not just turning his head this way because I'm standing here. he's actually responding to the reins. And, like I said, once the horse has learned to respond to the reins, like that, you can get him to hold his head sideways. And two things happen at that point. I'm going to keep holding it, sir. Two things happen at this point is when a horse has its head bent, good man, just naturally they are very unlikely to move. And that's what I mentioned in that other video. And the other thing is that in the process of doing this training, the horse is actually learning that with its head bent, that is synonymous with standing still. So as soon as you pick up the lead, turn his head, it means stand still. Now, as one guy said, even if the horse isn't really good at this stuff, if the horse's head, you keep that head bent around, the most it's going to do, and you saw that in the other video with Clint, you'll get itty bitty tiny circles. And in his defense, I've never made him stand still that long with his head bent. So even though I didn't want him going anywhere, he thought, well, you're still bending my head, maybe I'm supposed to be doing something. I don't know, because the cue hadn't gone away, and that was what happened. And so that's the one thing. The other thing that some people will have a problem with is if the head isn't bent enough and you have your hand too close in and the head isn't bent enough, there's more back pressure than side pressure, and the horse thinks it's supposed to back up. And as one guy said in his comments, his horse would back up when he was trying to mount it. And that I don't know, I wasn't there, I didn't see it, but I'm just throwing this out there, is one of the reasons something like that can happen is that you're actually not being clear enough because you haven't got the signal off to the side enough. Now in his case, there we go, good man, I'll leave him be. But if you get the head turned around far enough, then even if your hand is way up here on the withers, you're still going to be pulling almost straight to the side of his head, and the signal will be much clearer for the horse if you're doing it that way. You also have to make sure that once the horse gets super sensitive, because I've had this happen too, is I picked up the reins one day, went to get on, and I put my hand up there like that, and the horse basically did just what he just did there. And I'm gonna just move off to the side here a little. I don't want to keep my hand up there, but I had my hand up there. The horse was so soft that when I picked up the rein, there was actually still slack in it. And once I got on, he put his head straight again, and my hand was still holding the rein in the exact same place. But I unfortunately, my mistake, I left enough slack in the rein that he could do that. So when you get a horse that's really, really sensitive, and some will become eventually, as you can see, he's already responding, and I'm just picking it up. I'm not even pulling on it. And if that happens, you have to be a little extra careful to make sure that you take out enough slack that they can't straighten their head out on you. Otherwise, that can happen. But anyhow, this video should have come before the one on mounting, because this is the thing that you absolutely must have down really, really good before you try mounting and using that method. And it is something that I think is essential in training, and every horse should know before it's ridden, because if the horse doesn't respond to the reins like that, you're not going to be able to steer it, you're not going to be able to stop it, you're not going to be able to back it up. You're going to have all kinds of problems. So you really, really, truly want a horse that is going to respond to your reins. And that is one of the things. And again, head tilted, synonymous with standing still. Head turned, they're very unlikely to go anywhere. The worst that will likely to happen is like you saw with Clint. He made a really, really tiny circle right in front of the mounting block, didn't even go anywhere. We were still on camera at the time and all this stuff. And I sure hope that you actually got to see lots of that stuff. I'm not sure. I think we might have been off camera for quite a bit of it. I'll find out when I review the footage, and well, we'll see what kind of editing we're going to have to do. I hope I don't end up leaving too much out, but I do hope that you got to see enough of him moving around to give you an idea of exactly what needed to be done in order to achieve the flexing on the ground that allows for proper mounting. And it's like, this stuff all goes together. That's why I keep trying to say everything's connected, and if you miss one thing, everything else is going to work with a crap. That's like his response to the lead. That's something that starts with the leading I've been doing with him. And now we do the flexing, and that leads to the mounting. And so my leading affects my mounting. And people don't understand this stuff, and they go, oh, I got a problem with mounting. Well, you know what? Maybe it has nothing to do with mounting. Maybe it goes all the way back to leading. And that's where people have a lot of trouble, and they struggle when they have problems with the horse because they don't look far enough back to figure out where the problem actually is. They look at the obvious. Oh, I have a mounting problem. No, you don't have a mounting problem. You have a leading problem, or a rein response problem, or who knows what your problem really is. But it's not actually mounting. The mounting isn't the problem. That's a symptom. I've talked about this many times, the difference between symptoms and problems. And he's doing really well today. I'm happy with this guy. This is the off-the-track thoroughbred again. The one that just a few videos ago you saw tearing around screaming for other horses like a lunatic. And now you see how chill he is, and he was standing here. I wasn't even holding on to the lead while he was standing here. It was over his neck, and we leave him alone, and guess what? Is he running around screaming and yelling for other horses? No. We've still got a ways to go, but we're making progress. But he's the only one I had around here that I can work with that I could show you this stuff on, and we're going to have to do it a few more times, obviously. He's not perfect yet, but he was just at the right point, actually, where this actually worked very well, and I'm glad I got a chance to show you. Again, when you're doing this stuff, keep your hand stationary. Oh, my goodness, he's getting better all the time. And if he moves, go with him and just keep his head bent. Oh, goodness, he's gotten way too good. That's ridiculous. Honestly, I've never done this with him before. Okay, I did it yesterday for a couple minutes just to see it, and he just ran around in circles like crazy. Couldn't stand still. Now all of a sudden he does it perfectly. My goodness. Well, that just goes to show, yet again, how quick and easy a horse can learn stuff. And this training stuff, it's not hard. Like I said, all your tools you need right here, a lead and halter. And then if you got a horse, chances are pretty darn good you got a lead and halter. Sure hope so, anyhow. And anyone of you can do this stuff. There's no special techniques or anything. I just explained to you how it's done. You just got to make sure that you're clear with the horse, that you go off to the side enough so that it knows the direction it's supposed to go. And in space, you keep your hand stationary. You don't move your hand. If he moves his head that way, he's going to put pressure on. I just closed my fingers on the lead so that there would be pressure if he continued to move, but he didn't even get that far. Oh, look at that. As soon as he touches the end of that lead, he turns his head back again. Good man. Very good. Very, very good. That's impressive. But it's that simple, really. I hope you got to see enough that we weren't off camera too much. Pretty sure we were, but anyhow, like I said, once you get a little advanced, but before you ride, but once he's already had a saddle on a few times and he's okay with that. And actually, if you're already riding your horse, you can still do this. You can still do it, and it will still improve the horse's response to the reins. It will improve your mounting, and if you're already riding the horse and it's used to having a saddle on, that's great, because then you can do what I said with the saddle, where you can actually put your hand up on the side of the saddle, so it's always out a little bit from the side of the horse when you're doing this stuff, so that if the horse does move, you can very, very easily keep your hand stationary on the saddle and keep the an even tension on the lead at all times that is out a little bit from the horse, so that it gives it a clearer message, because that's one of the things where people struggle when they're working with the horses and trying to teach them things initially is they aren't clear enough with the horse, and the horse doesn't understand what they want. If the horse understands what you want, they're actually amazingly willing animals, and they're quite happy to do whatever you want. once they understand what you want. So, just be clear, be consistent. If the minute that horse turns its head, don't keep pulling. Just keep your hands straight so that when it turns, it gives itself release, and then you don't even have to have good timing. Ideally, you want to drop the lead completely when they turn, but it's not that critical. You don't have to do things perfect. You don't have to have perfect. And like I said, there's something about stuff like this. A lot of things you do with a horse. The horse will actually do the timing part for you. You don't even have to do that. All you have to do is stand still. Unless, of course, the horse moves, then you got to go with it. But there you go. Hope that helps. And don't expect it to be fixed in 5 minutes. You might have to take a couple hours, maybe a couple days, maybe a couple weeks. Depends on your horse. Who knows? And how consistent you are and your skill level. And there's just a lot of variables. But basically, you just saw what needs to be done. And if you get this stuff working really, really good, then you're going to be able to mount your horse without your horse walking off while you're trying to get on or after you get on. So there you go. Have a good day and go play with your horse. You can do it.